Lech Lecha. First reading, Abraham, Chesed. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your country, leave your people, leave your father's household, and go to a land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and curse whoever curses you. And all families of the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abram took his wife Sarai, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had accumulated, and the souls they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem in the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanites were in the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your seed I will give this land." And there he built an altar to the Lord, who had appeared to him. And from there he went to the mountain east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram journeyed and continued toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there because the famine was dire in the land. And it came to pass, as he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Behold, now I know what a fair woman you are. Therefore it will come to pass that when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me, but will let you live. Say, I pray you, that you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my soul will be spared because of you." Lech Lecha. Second reading, Isaac, Gevurah. And it came to pass that when Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that she was a very fair woman, and the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house, and he treated Abram well for her sake. And he acquired sheep and oxen and asses and menservants and maidservants and she-asses and camels. And the Lord inflicted plagues on Pharaoh and his house because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called for Abram and said, "What is this that you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I may have taken her to be my wife? Now therefore here is your wife, take her and go on your way." And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning Abram. And they sent him away, and his wife, and everything that he had. And Abram went up out of Egypt with his wife, and everything that he had. And Lot went with him into the south. And Abram was very wealthy in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south until he came to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, and to the place where he had first built the altar. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lech Lecha. Third reading, Jacob, Tiferet. And Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between Abram's herdsmen and the herdsmen of Lot. And the Canaanites and Perizzites also dwelled in the land. And Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, I pray you, or between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me, I pray you. If you will take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw the whole plain of Jordan, and that it was well watered, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you come to Zoar. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east. and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, "Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and to your seed forever. And I will make your seed like the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust, then your seed could be counted. Arise, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I will give it to you." Then Abram removed his tent and went and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and he built there an altar to the Lord. Lech Lecha, fourth reading, Moses, Netzach. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedor Laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they went to war against Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedor Laomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year, Chedor Laomer and the kings allied with him smote the Rephaites in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites in Cham, the Emites in Shave Kiri Ataim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir to Alparan, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and they smote the whole country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who were living in Hazazon Tamar. And the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, Zoar, joined each other to battle with them in the valley of Siddim, against Chedor Laomer, king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. And the valley of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And those that survived fled to the mountain. And they, the 4 kings, took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went on their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they were allied with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brethren was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318 of them, and pursued them to Dan. And he divided himself and his servants from them during the night, and smote them, and he chased them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. He brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brethren Lot and his goods together with the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him when he returned from defeating Chedor Laomer and the kings that were with him at the valley of Shave, which is the king's valley. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him, saying, "Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And he gave him tithes of everything. Lech Lecha, fifth reading, Aaron, Hod. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." And Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I have lifted up my hand to the Lord, the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything belonging to you, lest you should say, I made Abram rich. Only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men that went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share." After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. and your exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what can you give me, since I remain childless, and the steward of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me you have given no seed, and so a servant born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This man will not be your heir, but he that will come from your own body will be your heir. And he took him outside and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars if you can count them. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness. Lech Lecha, sixth reading, Joseph, Yesod. And he also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby will I inherit it? And he said to him, Bring me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a dove, and a young pigeon. And he brought all these things to him, and he divided them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. But the birds he did not divide. And when the fowls came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a dreadful darkness came over him. And he said to Abram, Know for certain that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not their own, and they will serve them, and they will be mistreated 400 years. And also that nation that they will serve will I judge, and afterward they will come out with great substance. And you will go to your fathers in peace, and you will be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp appeared and passed between the pieces. On that same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, To your seed I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the Kenites, and the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian maidservant Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abram, You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Your servant is in your hands, Abram said. Do with her whatever you think best. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she said. Then the angel of the Lord told her, Go back to your mistress, and submit to her. The angel added, I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, You are now with child, and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me, for she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. This is why the well was called Be'er Lahai Roi. It is still there, between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had borne. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me, and be you perfect. I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be a father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings will come out of you. Lech Lecha, 7th reading, David, Malchut. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you for the generations to come, as an everlasting covenant to be your God to you and to your seed after you. And I will give to you and to your seed after you the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, You must keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, for the generations to come. This is my covenant you shall keep, between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and you will circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man-child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger that is not of thy seed. He that is born in your house, and he that is bought with your money, must be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, As for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. And I will bless her, and will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, Will a child be born to a man that is 100 years old? And will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael might live before you. Then God said, Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes will he give birth to, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that same day, as God had said to him. Lech Lecha, Maftir. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. On that same day, Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Haftarah of Lech Lecha. Isaiah 40:27 through 41:16. Why do you say, Jacob, and complain, Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord, my cause is disregarded by my God. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Be silent before me, you islands. Let the nations renew their strength. Let them come forward and speak. Let us meet together at the place of judgment. Who has stirred up one from the east, calling him in righteousness to his service? He hands nations over to him and subdues kings before him. He turns them to dust with his sword, to wind-blown chaff with his bow. He pursues them and moves on unscathed, by a path his feet have not traveled before. Who has done this and carried it through, calling forth the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, with the first of them and with the last, I am he. The islands have seen it and fear. The ends of the earth tremble. They approach and come forward. Each helps the other and says to his brother, "Be strong." The craftsman encourages the goldsmith, and he who smooths with the hammer spurs on him who strikes the anvil. He says of the welding, "It is good." He nails down the idol so it will not topple. But you, Israel, are my servant Jacob, whom I have chosen. You descendants of Abraham, my friend, I took you from the ends of the earth. From its farthest corners I called you. I said, "You are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. All who rage against you will surely be ashamed and disgraced. Those who oppose you will be as nothing and perish. Though you search for your enemies, you will not find them. Those who wage war against you will be as nothing at all. For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, "Do not fear, I will help you." Do not be afraid, you worm Jacob, you men of Israel, for I, myself, will help you, declares the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. See, I will make you into a threshing sledge, new and sharp with many teeth. You will thresh the mountains and crush them, and reduce the hills to chaff. You will winnow them, the wind will pick them up, and a gale will blow them away. But you will rejoice in the Lord and glory in the Holy One of Israel.